Mariah Carey, the elusive chanteuse, the global icon, didn't walk into the courtroom like a star. She walked in like a reckoning. The courtroom, moments before humming with low chatter, fell silent. She wasn't there to perform. She wasn't there to entertain. She was there to testify. And when the clerk announced her name, Mariah Carey, even the stenographer stopped typing. It wasn't just shocking. It was seismic. Clad in a sleek black suit, traced with gold accents, her signature sunglasses still covering her face, Mariah moved with slow precision to the witness stand. At her side, her legal team stood like royal sentinels, and in that instant, it didn't matter how many Grammys she had, or how many records she'd broken. She was now something entirely different, a truth-teller in a trial that had already shaken the music industry to its core. Across the courtroom, Diddy looked up, and for just a second, the facade cracked. A twitch at the lip, a flicker in the eyes. He hadn't expected her. The judge offered a slight nod. This wasn't just any witness. This was someone with everything to lose and still chose to speak. As cameras flashed outside and headlines scrambled to update their banners, Mariah removed her sunglasses with elegant defiance. Someone in the crowd whispered, "She's really doing it." The prosecutor stood. "Miss Carey, would you kindly inform the court of your relationship with Mr. Combs?" Mariah's voice was steady, controlled, not the high-octave songbird fans. New, but something colder, sharper. "We weren't close, just two people moving through the same world, not friends, not colleagues, just orbiting." But then, her tone shifted. "I wasn't invited here to talk about gossip. I never imagined I'd be repeating what I heard under oath, but I'm here because of what I was told in private." The room froze. Jaws clenched. Jurors leaned forward in their seats. "I've waited over 20 years to say this," she continued, staring directly at Diddy. "And now, I'm ready." She spoke of industry events, video shoots, corporate dinners. Times when Diddy appeared, not just physically but politically. He was in every conversation, every room, sometimes announced, other times not. She recalled the 2001 MTV Video Music Awards after-party. Diddy approached her, complimented her album, and then said something strange. "You're too clean for this place." It stuck with her. Even then, she said, the industry felt like a battlefield. Being seen with Diddy meant protection for some, but for others, it felt like a trap. There were whispers, she told the court, whispers about secret after-parties, about NDAs being signed just to enter certain rooms. When asked why she never spoke publicly before, she answered plainly, "Because if you refused, you didn't get the invite. And if you didn't get the invite, you didn't get the award." It wasn't paranoia. It was survival. But all of it, the tension, the secrets, the fear, reached a boiling point on July 19, 2003. That night, she was invited to what her team called an industry retreat in the Hamptons. Exhausted from a music video shoot, she wanted to skip it. But her manager insisted, "Everyone big will be there, it'll be good for your image. Diddy's hosting." The estate was massive, tinted windows, 2 security checkpoints. Guests included A-list celebrities, executives, and, strangely, people who weren't in entertainment at all. Observers, watchers. Mariah said she planned to leave by 10 p.m. But just as she was getting ready to go, Diddy approached her. Calm, smooth, insistent. "You want to see the VIP lounge?" "I told him I was tired," she testified, but he wouldn't let it go. He said he needed to clear something up, so she followed him, just for a moment, into a private side room off the main hallway. 2 bodyguards stood outside the door. Inside, the room was dimly lit. Velvet chairs, no music, no laughter, just silence. He poured himself a drink. He stared, and then he spoke. "If they ever find out what I really do, it's over." Mariah paused. The courtroom was dead silent. "He wasn't smiling," she said. "He wasn't joking. He meant it." That moment haunted her for years. It wasn't what he said. It was how he said it. The certainty, the weight behind it, like someone who knew the mask would eventually fall. The prosecution leaned in. "Did you understand what he meant?" Mariah answered, her voice colder than ever. "I didn't know exactly what he meant at the time, sir, but now I do." Her testimony was more than a celebrity anecdote. It was a bombshell, detonating years of speculation, rumors, and whispers in one precise, chilling declaration. And for the first time in a very long time, Diddy had no words. Whether Mariah Carey will share even more of her story is unclear. She's hinted at writing a memoir, a real one, not just about her music but about the darkness behind the scenes. And after what happened in that courtroom, the world is watching, waiting. What do you think about Mariah's testimony? Was she protecting herself all these years, or the next generation of artists? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more jaw-dropping revelations like this one, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, because we're pulling back the curtain on the real music industry, one story at a time. He said it not like a man confessing, but like a king who had already watched his empire fall. That single phrase, "If they find out what I really do, it's over," wasn't just a statement. It was a shift, a warning. And Mariah felt it. She tried to leave the room. He moved, momentarily blocking the exit. Then he smiled, soft, calculated, and whispered, "You'll be taken care of." But the smile, it betrayed something darker, a promise with conditions. Mariah said nothing. She just walked out. "I've lived with that night in my head. For 20 years, she told the jury, her voice trembling with resolve, but I will no longer live in silence." She testified that she left the Hamptons mansion before dawn. The house was still. No music, no laughter, only quiet footsteps and shadowed security. Her longtime aide drove her back to Manhattan in silence. Mariah sat in the back seat, staring out the tinted window. "What I had just seen was completely foreign to me," she testified. "It didn't feel like an after-party, it felt like a warning, like I was never supposed to be there." But the warning didn't end there. By midday, back at her penthouse suite in the St. Regis Hotel, a concierge knocked on the door. He handed over a black parcel, her initials engraved in silver ink. No return address. Inside, a tight stack of crisp, pristine bills wrapped in gold bands, $100,000, no letter, no explanation, except a smaller envelope tucked beneath the cash, handwritten. "Regarding the time you have available, enjoy the evening by yourself. Thanks. S." Mariah's stomach dropped. She didn't need to ask who S was, and she knew this wasn't a gift. It was a message. Her manager panicked, told her to return the money immediately, but when they called the number scribbled faintly on the card, it was disconnected. Hotel security later confirmed the package had been delivered by a black SUV from a Manhattan rental fleet, one frequently linked to Bad Boy Entertainment. "I didn't want the money," Mariah told the court. "I wanted answers, or at the very least, distance." Instead, she felt terror. She locked the envelope away in the hotel safe. Weeks later, she mailed it back to the Hamptons mansion with no return address. The only note read, "You know where this belongs." She didn't tell anyone, not her team, not even her closest friends. "When something like that happens," she said, "you try to push it out of your mind. But the memory, it never really goes away." And when she saw Diddy enter the courtroom in 2025, accused of extortion, abuse, trafficking, it all came flooding back. "I felt compelled," she told the court. "I couldn't let that envelope stay silent any longer." Then the prosecutor leaned in. "Ms. Carey, did you hear from any other women at that 2003 party who were afraid, or who disappeared afterward?" Mariah hesitated. Her composure cracked for the first time. Her voice trembled. "There was one. I didn't know her well. She wasn't famous. PR or marketing, I think. She said her name was Lana. They only spoke briefly, but Lana seemed unsettled. She'd wandered into a side room by accident and saw something she shouldn't have. A man signing documents under bright lights, with a shadowy figure standing over him. And a camera. She fled the room immediately. But by the end of the night, Lana was gone. No one mentioned her. No one asked. 2 months later, a strange voicemail was left on Mariah's studio line, a woman's voice, low, shaken. "I shouldn't have seen that. No one should talk to me. You should be careful too." The call was erased hours later by a young intern. Accidentally, they said. "I never found out if it was Lana," Mariah testified, "but I never forgot that voice." She asked her manager to look into her. A week later, he came back. "She's gone," he said. "No job listings, no socials. She's been erased." He warned Mariah not to push. "In this industry," she told the court, "people who dabble don't last long." When pressed by the prosecutor for hard proof connecting Diddy to Lana's disappearance, Mariah shook her head. "No paper trail, no text, no proof, just fear. The same fear that kept me quiet for 20 years. Still, prosecutors used her testimony to help map a much bigger pattern. Dancers who vanished. Assistants who stopped answering. Whispers of NDAs, payouts, and hush packages. By 2004, Mariah said, "My career was still strong on the surface, but something shifted. The invites stopped. The calls dried up, especially the ones linked to his orbit. Private galas. Label-backed awards. At first, she thought it was coincidence. Then came the calls. Quiet, polite, but unmistakable. "Mariah, you're incredible," said one executive. "Just don't talk about that night. Not healthy." The phrase stuck. With her. Not healthy. A second message came from a mutual acquaintance. "Bad things happen to women who talk too much." I was disgusted. I was furious. But I was also smart, she told the jury. "You don't survive this long in the business without knowing when a warning is real." Then she described an encounter in 2006, an awards show. Diddy was surrounded by younger artists, laughing, celebrating. Their eyes met. He froze, then smiled. That same cold, calculated grin. "You stayed quiet," he said. She never saw him again. "That was all I needed," Mariah said. "It wasn't charm, it was control. And that smile told me. He knew I wouldn't speak. But now, in a courtroom, surrounded by flashing cameras and an audience ready to hear the truth, she spoke. She spoke. "I was right to be silent back then," she said, "but now I'm right to speak." As the trial continues, more women have stepped forward, and the silence that once protected the powerful, it's starting to crack. Mariah Carey's testimony may have been just the beginning. What followed after that was something the courtroom would not soon forget. Mariah adjusted the microphone in front of her and sat straighter in her chair. There was a new tension in her voice, not fear, but resolve. The kind of resolve born from decades of watching things unfold in the shadows, unable to speak. Now she would no longer protect the silence. "I didn't imagine any of it," she said, her voice level. There were systems, entire structures, built to erase these things from the public. Events that should have been televised were buried. People that should have been protected were discarded. And those who questioned it? Silenced. She said that in 2010, after refusing to hand Diddy the award, she was approached backstage by a powerful talent agent, one with deep ties to several major labels. "He looked me in the eye," she said. "You don't want to make this personal," he told me. "This is bigger than your moment." Within 48 hours, she said, 2 long-standing brand partnerships she'd had were suddenly dropped. One was in final negotiations. The other had already shot its campaign. No apology, no explanation, just gone. "It was like someone flipped a switch," Mariah told the court. "They didn't even pretend." The prosecution leaned in again. "Ms. Carey, did you ever receive threats directly?" Mariah hesitated, then nodded. She detailed a 2011 incident when a security guard assigned to her team for a music festival approached her in the early morning with something troubling. An unmarked manila envelope had been delivered to the venue's back office. Inside was a photo of her from years earlier, young, distressed, leaving an event with someone she no longer associated with. The image was raw, personal, and the message written across it said, "You're one sentence away from reminding the world who you really were." She didn't know who sent it, but she didn't need to. I understood exactly what they were trying to say. You speak, we remind the world of your mess instead. It was then she stopped questioning events. She stopped investigating shell companies. She stopped asking about the artists who disappeared or the contracts that made no sense. They were never going to ruin me with lies, she said, but they could use my truth to humiliate me. That's when the gallery shifted. The jury leaned in. Some jurors exchanged glances. Others looked stunned. Even the judge, who had remained mostly expressionless throughout the marathon testimony, adjusted his seat again. He rubbed his temple. The impact was sinking in. Then came the moment that brought the entire room into eerie stillness. The prosecution revealed that they had corroborating evidence, financial records, silent partnerships, shell company registrations, all matching. The names and connections Mariah had just named, they weren't only taking her word for it. They had receipts, and they matched. But it was Mariah's final comment in that testimony block that left the courtroom breathless. "You think the abuse is the worst part," she said. "But it's the silence afterward, the world pretending. It didn't happen. That breaks people. That's what I survived, and that's why I'm speaking now." For the first time, Diddy looked rattled. His jaw tightened. He whispered to his attorneys. His hands clasped together tightly. The mask was slipping. Because now, the industry's favorite silence was cracking open, and the star they never thought would speak, she just did. Mariah Carey's testimony didn't just punctuate a trial. It rewrote the narrative of power and fear in the entertainment industry. In less than 24 hours, what had been a slow-churning investigation turned into an industry reckoning. Behind closed doors, networks began reviewing old contracts. Executives who had spent decades turning blind eyes suddenly went silent, or vanished altogether. Publicists whispered about panic mode gripping top-level management at record labels and production companies tied to Diddy's legacy. A-list, artists began privately requesting legal audits of their own past deals. One rep called it the quietest earthquake I've ever felt in Hollywood. But outside the courtroom, the silence wasn't so quiet anymore. The cultural tsunami Mariah's quote, "I'm not here to rehash suffering, I'm here to speak the truth," became a rallying cry. TikTok flooded with tributes, edits, and reenactments of her court appearance. Gen Z fans called it her trial era, and videos using her voice from the transcript were set to powerful remixes of her older ballads. The Justice for Lana hashtag, referencing the mysterious woman in Mariah's story, began to gain traction too, as citizen journalists and online investigators tried to unearth clues about the woman's identity. Meanwhile, Diddy's longtime collaborators faced new pressure. Former protégés were inundated with comments demanding they speak up. One artist deactivated her Instagram altogether after posting a vague story about burying pain for too long. Another issued a now-deleted tweet. "I knew what he did. I was scared. Still am." Legal strategy in flames inside the courtroom. Diddy's legal team scrambled to recast Mariah as dramatic, but it was too late. Jurors didn't see a diva. They saw a witness with nothing to gain and everything to lose. Their star defense tactic, discredit the accuser, failed in real time. Mariah had dismantled that entire strategy with calm precision. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just told the truth, said one journalist on CNN. In response to the wave of credibility her words carried, the prosecution introduced a motion to unseal parts of sealed testimonies previously protected under fear. Clauses and NDAs, now backed by the state's protection order for whistleblowers. It was a direct result of what they called the Mariah precedent. The judge took it under review. A ripple of gasps was heard in court. If granted, it could unleash decades of buried accounts. The whispers become voices by Friday. Rumors turned into confirmations. Two former Bad Boy executives signed cooperation agreements. One of them, known for managing Diddy's brand partnerships, submitted documents allegedly proving hush payments funneled through shell companies as early as 2002. Redacted names appeared in filings, but some leaked. One detail caught fire online. A 2006 memo with the words MC Scene. She remembers, keep her out of the room. People didn't need to guess who MC was. The narrative was no longer about one man on trial. It was about the ecosystem that protected him, that enabled him, that benefited from the silence of others. What comes next? Even as Mariah stepped back from the spotlight again, no interviews, no follow-ups, no press appearances, her impact kept echoing. Her former assistant to a different pop star from the 2000s era teased a tell-all. A dancer from one of Diddy's tours posted a black and white selfie with the caption, "It's time, I'm done being scared." Mariah didn't say another word. She didn't have to. She had already lit the match.